Started. So welcome to today's public information meeting on wildfires in the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. My name is Michelle Nordstrom, and I'm the Information Officer with the Thompson-Nicola Regional District's Emergency Operations Center. And before we get started, I would like to take a moment and acknowledge that we connect with many First Nations communities across our vast regional district, and today are located on the Tk'emlúps-te-Secwépemc territory, situated with the unceded ancestral lands of the Secwépemc Nation. The Tnrd appreciates the partnerships that we have and respect the territory and land on which we are meeting from today. A recorded version of this meeting will be available to stream on demand. You can find that on our website, tnrd.ca, and it's also available on our YouTube channel. All attendees joining us today will be muted to allow for our presenters to speak on the current wildfire situation in the region. There will be no live question and answer period at today's meeting, but attendees are always welcome to submit questions in advance, and we will be addressing the questions that we've received previous to today's meeting during the call. So to start off with today, we'll be getting an update from BC Wildfire Service on the various wildfires that are impacting the region. And to start with, I think we're going to be starting off at the Kamloops Fire Center with our Regional Wildfire Coordination Officer to give an update on Durand Lake, Mamach Lake, July Mountain, and White Rock Lake.
Actually, just a quick change there. I think we're going to let Caribou go first, and they have their bit to talk to, and then they can move on, and then I will address the Kamloops Fire Center fires.
Okay, thanks very much for that update. Yeah, we'll go ahead and start off with the Caribou Fire Center, Madison Smith, to give us an update on Flat Lake and Chasm. Do we have the Caribou Fire Center information officer? Oh, yep, I'm just going to see if we can get them unmuted to provide us an update there. It seems like they're still on.
Hi there.
Mute. Oh, hello. Is that the Caribou Fire Center? You can go ahead with your update for us from BC Wildfire. I think we might have a bad connection here. Sorry, bear with us here for a moment while we see if we can't get an update, and then we may need to move on to our Kamloops Fire Center and kind of circle back if we're not able to connect. Okay, well, sorry about that. We'll, if we can, maybe jump back into Caribou for an update. We certainly will. But I think if we could maybe continue on, we'll go back to our Kamloops Fire Center and go ahead. Dale, would you like to give the first update on those fires I mentioned earlier?
You bet, certainly. So my name is Dale Bojera. I'm the Regional Wildfire Coordination Officer for the Kamloops Fire Center currently. I can tell you, give you some overview statistics at this point. Fire Center has had 339 fires to date for just over 100,000 hectares burned. When we look at the fires we've discussed there, we'll start with Durand Lake. It was detected July 1st, approximately 28 kilometers southwest of Kamloops. Current size is 289.5 hectares. It is still classified as under control, but crews have been making some excellent progress on that fire. It's suspected to be lightning caused. We've been heavily utilizing our industry partners on this fire, and at this point have it 100% surrounded by fire guard, the bulk of that put in by heavy equipment. We have 13 personnel along with one helicopter that's going to continue to work the fire today. And we also did manage to get an infrared scan this morning, which will allow those firefighters to really focus on the areas of heat that were detected by that aircraft. We also do have a structure protection unit in place working near Dairy Lake. And we do have some evacuations that are associated with this fire that were recommended to the TNRD and implemented by them. Those do remain in effect. The good news is minimal growth on that fire yesterday, and the fire is currently exhibiting rank 1 and rank 2 behavior. The Mamach Lake fire, K21658, discovered July 7th, approximately 55 kilometers northeast of Barrier. Is currently listed as 2,168 hectares. That's a rough estimate, or not that rough, but that's where we estimate it to be. Still classified as out of control. Cause is undetermined at this point. We are monitoring this incident with the support of heavy equipment from our industry partners, and we do have a structure protection unit in place working on this fire. We do have an evacuation order that was recommended to the TNRD and was, excuse me, and implemented by them, as well as an evacuation alert for several properties there as well. And as always with these, we ask folks to contact the TNRD for details on any evacuation alert or order if they need more information. We'll continue to work with our industry partners on this incident and as we move forward towards containment. The White Rock Fire, K61884, 56 kilometers northeast of Merritt. It's currently 3,000 hectares in size, still out of control. We have 4 personnel, 9 pieces of heavy equipment, and 3 helicopters working that fire. We are responding to moderate fire behavior on that incident. It's been a wind-driven incident primarily to date, and we will continue to support that with our personnel and aerial resources, and we'll be transitioning that to one of the incoming incident management teams. We do have an evacuation alert for that one that's associated as well, and again, that was through the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. We did see some growth on that fire on the north end yesterday, east of the Salmon Lake River. The July Mountain Fire, K61882, dated detection July 13th, 45 kilometers southwest of Merritt along west of Highway 5. Currently estimated to be about 400 hectares in size and is listed as out of control. This fire was suspected to be caused by lightning, and we continue to monitor that incident both from the ground and the air. We do have an evacuation alert in place for a total of 25 properties on that incident, and again, that's through the TNRD. That is the list of the primary incidents that I was asked to speak to today. I see at this point, hopefully Madison's available to move to her Caribou update.
Thanks, Dale. Madison, are you now available to unmute your microphone and provide us an update on the Caribou Fire Center?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was having a technical glitch. So I'm here today from the Caribou Fire Center. My name is Madison Smith and I'm a fire information officer. Today I'm going to be talking about the Flat Lake wildfire as well as the Chasm Wildfire. I'll start with Flat Lake. So the Flat Lake wildfire is estimated to be 14,000 hectares in size and is still classified as out of control. The Flat Lake fire, I should say where it's located, it's 20 kilometers southwest of 100 Mile, west of Highway 97. So today our crews are working with heavy equipment to establish and gain access in the area to the southeast of the fire, and to support control lines in and around identified values around the fire. Structure protection specialists have assessed the area and deployed structure protection where necessary on properties on the west side of the highway, and will continue to do that today. There are 12 helicopters available for use within the Northeast complex. So the Northeast complex is responsible for fires north of Highway 24 and east of Highway 97. So this Flat Lake fire does fall within the Northeast IMT I'm providing their update today as they're just turning over and just getting familiar with the incident. I should also mention that late yesterday afternoon, the fire did see some growth to the southeast, and smoke is and will continue to be highly visible from Highway 97 and surrounding communities, especially 100-mile and 70-mile areas. I'll move on to the Chasm Wildfire now, which is 14 kilometers northeast of Clinton on the east side of Highway 97. This fire is estimated at 374 hectares in size and is out of control. Yesterday, there was increased activity on the west flank, resulting in a small excursion. The small spot size fire was bucketed by helicopters and blanketed by by air tankers. Heavy equipment and personnel worked through the evening to establish a guard around that excursion. And we did have one person remain on site just to watch out, to monitor fire activity to make sure that didn't grow, and it didn't throughout the night. There's 33 firefighters on site today with 11 pieces of heavy equipment. The skimmers are out there today assisting crews cool down the fire, the hot spots along the fire, as well as one helicopter. And this fire is as well very visible from Highway 97 and the surrounding areas. And that's all I have for Caribou. Thank you.
Thanks very much for your update on that, Madison. Okay, so we'll go back and talk about some of the other Kamloops Fire Center wildfires. Next on my agenda, I had the incident commander for the Litton Creek complex. So I'm going to ask Steve Tremont if I have him on our panelists here to, or Steve Lemon, sorry, to speak next. If I have him on our panelist here, I'm just having a look on our end.
Hey, Michelle, it's Nicole. I'm the fire information officer on the Litton complex. Steve and I called in together. We just have some internet connectivity issues, so we're not going to turn on our camera at this time.
Okay,
just
great.
To hopefully make it.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll mute myself.
Good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon. We're going to talk first about the Litton Creek complex, or Litton Creek Fire specifically. So currently listed at about 11,000 hectares, still as out of control, but we're definitely gaining in some areas. Resources look like about 70 firefighters, 4 helicopters, a number of heavy equipment, an incident management team, and a lot of structure protection, a bunch of different structure protection crews. Making good progress on most of the fire. The only real areas of concern right now are the Upper Nikomin Valley, Upper Nikomin Valley and the Botany area. We're looking at reducing the size of the order currently in place. We feel we can open up access to the Highway 12 corridor as well as to the Botany Valley. But the Highway 1 corridor will still remain under order for now. The Tremont Creek Fire, K21849, just east of Ashcroft and Wallachine. That one's about 5,000 hectares. We've seen some significant growth over the last few days there. Each evening with the winds, we're getting growth. Currently out of control. Last night we did put in a evacuation order for the community of Wallachine, and we're just revisiting that now, whether we can open part of that order back in. Currently looking at about 40 personnel on shift during the day and another 20 overnight. 5 helicopters, 8 pieces of heavy equipment, supported by the same incident management team, and 20 structure protection personnel. Also working in close association with the Ashcroft Fire Department, who's providing night shift and as well as some security. We're currently looking at moving our incident command post and camp infrastructure to Cache Creek, from Boston Bar to Cache Creek, to better support that incident. And that's it.
Great, thank you very much for that update, Steve. Okay, and then next we'd like to get an update from the incident commander for the Sparks Lake complex. So Mitch, if I have you, I will ask you to unmute your microphone and give us your update.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, great, thank you.
All right, I'm not muted. Okay, so I'll start out with the Sparks Lake fire itself is currently 45,167 hectares. And we're making good progress in the south, which is where we have pretty much pulled all of our equipment and people down to, so that we can make some progress in the priority areas that we need to, and that is in the south to make sure that nothing happens over the lake, and also to the east that we can protect that edge of the fire, so we don't have to worry about anything coming into Kamloops. So we're doing that with some burning that we are currently doing right now, both on the air and from the air and on the ground, small burns, and it's going well. And then the plan is in place to do a bigger burn in the south in the unburnt fuels, to basically get rid of all of that fuel down there, so we can pretty much concentrate our efforts elsewhere. And right now we have people working the west flank of the fire. Basically, we got a new crew in. They are going to be doing some work about halfway. I think it's Tobacco Creek, and that's probably not going to happen for probably a day or two. Try and get the burn done, and then that's the intention on the west flank, is just to pretty much steer the fire along the Tobacco Creek's area, and we want to just try and steer it right back into the old Elephant Hill fire, so that we can get that out of the way, and we don't have to worry about it coming south. Right now, anything south of that area is looking really good. So yeah, that is pretty much where we are focusing our attention on the Sparks Lake fire. The Embleton Mountain fire, currently 604 hectares. We've got 40 firefighters in there, which is helping us move along. We had very few firefighters there in the beginning, so that is a huge help for us. We've got equipment and helicopters working on the fire. Right now, with the intentions of what we're looking at is building guard along both the east and the west sides of those fires. The biggest problem for us is the steepness of that fire along the side of the mountain. We're doing well up top. We've got guard in place. We've got a lot of breaks that we can use to keep the guard in what we call the box, or the fire in a box. And so now we're coming up with a plan just to try and bring that fire down the mountain in a controlled way, that it'll be a low intensity fire, and we can hopefully make some good progress. And that way we will be able to maybe in 5 to 7 days look at maybe bringing some people back. So nutshell, that's it. And Young Lake fire is 846 hectares, and we don't have the equipment or manpower to bring anything up to that fire at this time, but we are keeping an eye on it. We fly it to make sure we got a current size. Where it's at right now, it's not in a it's going down a valley to the north. We're aware of where it's at. We put an order in place in that area just to try and make sure that we had any people that were in there out for safety, because obviously we aren't doing anything with it. We can't do anything with it right now with the with the amount of resources we have, and yeah, it's okay right now. And that is it, I believe.
Great. Thank you very much for that update, Mitch. Appreciate it. Okay, next we're going to be hearing from the incident commander for the Okanagan complex. That's the Brenda Creek and Thomas Creek. So Dennis Rexon, if you are. Good afternoon, Dennis. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So thanks for the invite. Quick update. Our incident management team got in yesterday and did a transition. So everything that folks are able to see on the wildfires of note is accurate and current for today. Huge workload that's been managed out of the Kamloops Fire Center up until our team's gotten in here is managing those updates for both the Thomas and the Brenda Creek fires. So now that our team is here, we will be providing regular updates there with probably a bit more added detail that has just slipped through the cracks with all the added workload that Kamloops has been doing. So I'm not going to go through all of the information that is readily available on the wildfires of note, other than some highlights. It's still about 480 hectares as of this morning. We do have 23 fire suppression staff working round the clock on it with a night shift in place in conjunction with heavy equipment. We've also been supported tremendously by fire department crews and structure protection crews, and high risk or high values that are being protected currently are multiple homes in the area, power line, wood structure power line that feeds the Okanagan, as well as watershed areas. We are working towards getting containment with machine guards where we can, and we'll have to be doing some hand ignitions to remove fuels and strengthen those lines. We have seen a fairly significant activity here this afternoon on that particular fire. For areas that are affected within the TNRD, I believe they're quite a ways away, and as we gain added staff and resources on this particular incident, we will likely be making a recommendation to rescind the alert that's in place in the next week. And it'll be quite some time before we recommend rescinding any orders that are in effect in other regional districts. And any time that we make a recommendation to the local authorities, it is strictly from a fire behavior perspective. And there are many other considerations that before the local authorities reopen up those areas to residents, that they have to turn their mind to and ensure that other things are in place. So that's a quick overview for you, and all from today.
Great, thanks very much for that, Dennis. Just some really important information just about sort of the next steps and the recommendations that may be coming as we're going through the summer for rescinding orders and alerts and the areas and all of the various things that need to go into the considerations to be removing or lifting those alerts and orders in the areas. So thanks very much for your update. Next, we did have another update regarding the Litton Creek complex, I think. Did we have somebody on the line with us today with A1 problem solvers that had joined us?
I think we missed John Large there from the Mckay Creek fire.
Thank you. We did miss John Larg. Sorry about that, John. We did miss you there, and I was messaging with Taylor here. So let's go back and we'll get an update on the Mckay Creek wildfire. John Larg is the incident commander for that wildfire.
Good afternoon, I guess, everyone. The Mckay Creek wildfire is still listed as under control over 25,000 hectares at this time. For resources on site, we've got about 100 personnel and 4 rotary wing aircraft, a heavy contingent of equipment, water trucks, dozers, and excavators, and then our Parks Canada IMT. We still got a few areas of or notice of alerts in the north and the southern parts of the fire, and we're working to secure the perimeter in those areas. It'll be a little bit, we're reestablishing or reevaluating those and doing some thermal scanning in the evenings, and that's going to determine when we look at lifting or shrinking some of those alert areas. Similar to some of the other fires, we're using some strategic ignition operations to help control some of the perimeter, and that's basically the fire in a nutshell.
Thank you, John. Much appreciated. Okay, so that was our update on Mckay Creek wildfire. Sorry, we skipped you there, John, and we went a little bit ahead of here. But I will go back and just, I didn't see anybody in my panelists, but we had invited A1 problem solvers to give us a little bit of an overview of Litton Creek complex. So I'm not sure if they actually have joined the call with us today. So I'm just gonna put the call out to A1 problem solvers. But I don't believe we actually have them here with us today. Okay. We'll see if we can get them for our next update meeting. We are holding these every few days as needed throughout the wildfire season. They could increase or decrease in frequency as things progress and develop. So we will certainly have an opportunity to invite different jurisdictions and agencies to these meetings as we need to. Okay, well, while I do have BC Hydro on the line with us still, we will be letting them all get back to work here soon. I know they have a lot of things on their plate. We did have a few questions that had been submitted to us in advance of this public meeting that I'd like to take the opportunity to put out to our BC wildfire personnel who are here with us. Some of them will be very specific to the wildfires you've already spoken to. So I just wanted to ask a few of those now before we get an update from BC Hydro and from the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. So there was a question regarding the Heffley Lakes community. So the wildfire out near Sun Peaks and Whitecroft Village. A specific question about the concerns about the fire coming down the mountain. If there's anyone that may have anything to provide an answer to on that one.
Yeah, I can answer that question. I kind of did in my intro there, but the intent there is to try and bring that fire down to the guard at the bottom by the houses, so that it is in a slow moving, low intensity fire, and we can basically manage it from there. And the idea there is to try and get that finished where we can basically allow the people back into the houses. And it's a challenge, obviously, with the slopes and the way the fire is burning now. If we left that fire alone, it would probably be 2 to 3 months before anybody would, that's how long it would probably take, unless we got a lot of rain. So we are trying to speed that up. And most of the fire under those trees is all ground fire. So, I mean, that's kind of where we want it. And we want to just do it in a way that it's a planned ignition. And once we get that done, I'll move on to your probably next question. That's going to be what we need to do to rescind the order and alerts. And that's exactly what we need to do. Basically bring that down in a manner that we feel comfortable that we can allow people back in the houses and lift the alert from Sun Peak. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Yep, that's a great answer for that question. It also sort of addresses the next question I had, which is regarding another area, Mowich Lake, that has had wildfire in the area, and they're looking for an idea on the next steps and what needs to happen before an order is rescinded and when residents are allowed access and how long that takes. So I think you did kind of speak to that a little bit. I mean, it's obviously the first and foremost matter of safety for people to return. But if there's anything that you want to add at all to that one, I mean, timelines are always going to be very dependent on the situation and the area and the fire. So we can't exactly give a timeline on a lot of the different events that are happening right now in the areas. So yeah, is there anything that you just wanted to add just in terms of the steps that need to happen before BC Wildfire recommends that an alert or an order is lifted or rescinded?
Yeah, like I said, we're hoping that we can, and it's as far as success, it's pretty high as far as just the manner in which we're going to bring that fire down. It'll be a combination of lighting fire on the ground, as well as we'll use to make it simple, what I call ping pong balls from the air out of a helicopter. And it'll be in a manner that we, again, like I said, the whole plan is to make that a low intensity burn, keep it on the ground. We're not gonna, get any fire roaring up the hill, but we have to take care of that unburnt fuel between where it's at now and where the houses are before we are comfortable enough to let people back in. And crystal ball, I really hate even saying anything, but I would anticipate if we can pull that off in the next couple of days, there's a likelihood that it'll be looked at again in the next week or so.
Great, thanks very much, Mitch. My next question for BC Wildfire does have some pretty specific questions within it, so I'll put it out and see. It might not be a question.
I got this one.
You got this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got a multi-part question here, and even just backing up to that previous one, I wasn't too sure if that was a typo or not, if that was reference to Mamach Lake or not, and even within that evacuation question, it speaks to another item within there that everyone needs to understand as well. There's a number of factors when we go looking at lifting an evacuation order. One is the threat, the ongoing threat of the wildfire itself. And then there could be other factors, and the question that was posed was, it spoke to road safety, and then we have other issues when it comes to these sorts of things that the local government also has to assess sometimes before people go back in. So there's the wildfire threat, and then afterwards too, there could be some of the impacts that remain from the wildfire that may spread over to other agencies. Moving into the questions on this next portion. For the first one, we had what grants or resources are available for our community wildfire preparations. We're fortunate that we have Nicole Bonnet on the call, and actually this is her sort of area of expertise in our center. So for that particular one, I'm gonna let Nicole speak to. Nicole?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I'm gonna just take off my fire information hat for a second and put on my prevention specialist Kamloops Fire Center hat. There are several funding programs that are available throughout the province. The one that pertains specifically to communities, so local governments, First Nations, and regional districts is the Community Resiliency Investment Program. So you're able to apply for, depending on what risk class your community falls within, a certain amount of money to do fire smart type activities. There are 9 eligible activities, I believe 8 of which are more on the fire smart educational side, and the 9th is the fuels management side. And I think that actually ties a little bit into some of the other questions here on that same one, sort of the fire modeling and protection resources. So one of the things that is eligible through that funding program is what we call a community wildfire protection plan, but has just recently evolved over the last 2 years. We revamped the format.
and it's now the Community Wildfire Resiliency Plan. And I believe that Venables has one. I'm not entirely sure if it's officially been approved and completed or not, but it was something we were reviewing at the fire center. So there's plans in place where you can work with either your local government or your regional district, or if you are First Nations, then you can do that as well through like partnership with Finesse, because they're the ones who review and support the applications for CRI for First Nations communities. So that's the sort of like local government community side of things. And then to build off of that, within sort of the Crown Land, provincial Crown Land area, there's the Wildfire Risk Reduction Funding Program. And so that's run through Wildfire with the resource districts in the areas throughout the province. And so they put together projects and work with Wildfire to come up with areas where they can do some fuels treatments. So whether that might be mechanical or hand treatments, prescribed fire, it could be a variety of things depending on the area and the values at risk and proximity to community and all those types of things. So that's probably just a quick rundown without bogging people down with too many of the details. But it does cover off, I think, also a little bit of that number 6 question, the Venables Valley piece with the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, because fire modeling, fire activity, fire history, all of those things feed into that community protection plan to help decide what areas you would want to see treated and what areas are a high priority within the community.
Thanks, Nicole. And I think Mitch had something to add there.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to have a correction here. I was kind of going on about another area that I thought I was answering, but I want to go back to the last question about the Mowich Lake road concerns. And now that I've got an idea of the area that we're in, I will speak to that. And basically that road is, yeah, it's unstable. When I got here about a week ago, there was boulders coming down from the steep slopes along the road. We ourselves could hardly, we basically have kept away from that road as much as we can. And they will have to go in there, an engineer will have to go in there and reassess that road. It's not just a matter of cleaning the road up or whatever. There's slopes in there that we would be concerned about safety for stability issues. So that would be an assessment done on the stability of the slopes along that road. So there's a lot of issues there that need to be addressed before, and it's a lot of that is not our immediate priority right now, and a lot of that is going to be outside agencies or professionals that are going to have to go in and look at that area. So you know, when I see somebody asking about weeks, months, year, I would like to say it's not going to take a year. It may be a while before they actually be able to get in there as far as safety from the fire and be able to look at that. So right now, I wouldn't even try and venture to give you an idea. Maybe in a couple of weeks, somebody would have a better idea, but right now, that's too much of a long shot for me to give any timeline.
I'm just gonna tag in after Mitch here, not on his topic, but one that I forgot for the for community funding and supports. This year through Wildfire, there was also, I believe it's going to be a one-time only grant, but an economic recovery funding grant as well. And the intent of that was kind of twofold. One, to put some money back into economies of local governments, First Nations, improvement districts, volunteer fire departments. But the activities that they were applying for in order to get that money was also around fire smart activities to further help communities prepare and become more resilient in the face of wildfire. So I forgot to mention that earlier, but I just wanted to throw that out there, that economic recovery funding went live this year. So that's also something that's out there that's just started this spring.
Thanks for that. We appreciate that information.
So the next several questions that were submitted here are primarily around resourcing. So I'll bounce around here a little bit. So one of the questions was how many helicopters do we currently available or we're using? So I can tell you right now in Kamloops Fire Center, we have 58 helicopters on hire. There are 8 lights, 21 intermediates, 19 mediums, and 10 heavy lift helicopters. And a number of those are actually double crewed. So essentially, rather than just the normal 8 hours a pilot can fly in a given day, we can extend those machines upwards of 16 hours if daylight allows by double crewing them. So that's another attempt we've made to stretch the resources we have to go further by double crewing a number of those machines. Another question is how many water trucks are available? That's not an easy question to answer because it's quite dynamic as water trucks get assigned to fires, as more suppliers approach us and make offerings of their equipment. So that's a number that's almost in constant flux throughout the summer. Very difficult to give you a specific number at a given point in time, and it changes very rapidly. That being said, we've had excellent support from our industry partners, Road Builders Association, Woodlot Association. We've had a number of industrial partners stepping forward and making offerings of the equipment that they have. Where are resources located and how are they allocated? And that ties right into another question, is who is responsible for allocating resources? So resources are located all over the province. Within Kamloops Fire Center, we have 5 fire zones: the Kamloops, Vernon, Penticton, Merritt, and Lillooet zones. So the resources for new fires are primarily based out of those locations. When it comes to allocating resources, there's a number of people responsible for that. I'm one of them right now at the Kamloops Fire Center. I assist with some of that decision making when we need to make priorities as well. Provincially, we look at the incidents we have on the landscape, and we do prioritize 3 times a week actually as to what fires do we have, what are the values, and that's, you know, public life, safety, property, public infrastructure. There's a number of criteria that we work through to make sure that we're properly assessing and able to see which fires essentially are the highest priority due to the values that they're threatening on the landscape. So that's an exercise we go through regularly. Part of my role is to watch that as we attack new fires and ensure that we are deploying resources to where they are needed most, where the values are threatened. But that is also managed at the zone level as well. And then I report to a provincial wildfire coordination officer who's also looking at that. So it's a multi-layered process. A lot of work goes into that prioritization to ensure that we are indeed allocating the resources where they are needed most. And again, that is to protect those values out on the landscape. There's a question here: is there a liaison we can establish between the Venables community and search and rescue, firefighting services, etc.? So that kind of covers a whole gambit. Certainly any community, there's a number of things you can do. You know, when you're speaking to search and rescue, that to me sort of alludes to the evacuation end of our business. And so everyone needs to be aware when it comes to evacuation alerts and orders. The BC Wildfire Service makes the recommendation to the local government, and it's the local government that's responsible for implementing that. And it's the local government you should be reaching out to and getting your information from to understand what the emergency plans are, what you need to do as an individual, and getting ready for that. With regards to liaison with the community, quite often, you know, certainly with larger fires, you will start seeing things like these public meetings where we could speak to a specific community when they are impacted by a wildfire, and then too, if you know, outside of a specific incident impacting your community, perhaps, you know, right now obviously we're very busy with response, but certainly recommend reaching out to your local fire zone. And there is a number of staff within there that can help communicate with you what the local picture looks like, any activities in that nature. So hopefully that can help as well. Moving to the next question I see that came in here is related to the Botany Creek Road. So I assume that's going to go to Mr. Lemon. And it's any update on Botany Creek Road. I guess it was not mentioned, this person mentioned in the last call. And so I think some folks are hoping to get some sort of status on Botany there. I don't know if you're able to provide anything there, Steve.
Steve had to step out, so I will just jump in here. I don't have anything specific for Botany Creek Road, but we do have within the fire perimeter itself, the Botany area is what we're calling Division Delta. And we've had crews working up there. The fire up there right now is burning at a higher elevation, so it is not in close proximity to properties or anything like that. And the crews that have been working up there have been doing some really good work getting in some fuel free and opening up some roads with some machine guard and things like that. So at this point in time, the fire threat to that portion of like the residents in the area is fairly low, if that answers the question as best we can. And we do know that there are some people who have animals and things on their properties along that road. So when crews are going out there and when the fire department is out there, they've kind of been keeping an eye on the animals in the area if they think they've been left alone, giving them an apple or something for the horses, things like that. So we're doing what we can to make sure that everything is fine out there for when people come home.
Thanks, Nicole. And there's a bit of a follow-up on that one. I think it's going to almost be a combo, perhaps, for Tnrd as well. So how many homes or properties have been lost on Botany Creek Road? Where is the fire? Is there 2 fires on Botany Creek Road? If so, what are the locations?
Okay, well, from the property structure side of things, that is not something that BC Wildfire can speak to. So I'll leave that to the regional district. I don't believe there is 2 fires. It's just one larger fire that's kind of on both sides there. But like I said, the piece that is active is burning at a higher elevation. And there's crews up there, and we've got the heavy equipment as well as helicopters working in the area. So there's a lot of eyes on the ground and in the sky. If activity were to change, we would be well aware of it and be able to respond accordingly. And I think, what was the third one?
Sorry, what were the locations if there's 2 fires? There's a question if there's 2 fires up there in Botany.
Oh, yeah, I think it's just the one. It's just a larger space. It is still estimated at just over 11,000 hectares. So that does cover quite, not as overly significant area, but still a bigger area for the community, I'm certain.
Perfect, Nicole. And I think one last one for your fire down there. I'm guessing one you're going to have difficulty giving a specific answer to. When will entry be allowed to Botany, Gladwin, and Highway 12?
My understanding from the team that was here before us is there was some recommendations sort of in like the Litton proper area and the Botany area. The fire is like the wildfire risk is not there anymore. Steve mentioned earlier, probably the more significant risk is just traveling along that highway corridor, as there are still rocks kind of coming down the hill there. The slope stability piece, like you said, is going to have to be a conversation with MOTI. So I think that those conversations will be happening shortly from a wildfire side of things. That being said, there's obviously some sort of transportation corridor issues traveling through the Litton area. So there might be some other concerns from the village of Litton, Litton First Nation, and or the Tnrd just with increased traffic flow through the area. So I think that that's probably a conversation that is better had with them than with wildfire itself.
Thanks, Nicole. I believe this next question is going to be going to Mitch Pence. Mitch, I'm not too sure if you have these questions in front of you, so I can go ahead and read it out if you'd like. The first one relates to a resident who is going back and forth commuting to Sun Peaks from back and forth from Sun Peak to Kamloops. Just commentary around what seems to be it's quite a long question, but essentially a lack of consistency in the checks on the road system. As this individual seems to be seeing a lack of consistency from their point of view on how those road checks are going. It sounds like we're in for a few long weeks on this situation, and it needs to be consistent for safety, enforcement, and security. And I guess a question around, is there any movement on additional security or more consistent security on the Sun Peaks commute?
Hi, Dale. Mitch just stepped out, but he's on his way back in right now. So
Okay.
just give him one moment here.
I can bounce to a question that I can answer.
Sure. We'll come.
So one of the questions we had was, what is the difference between a fire that's out of control and a fire that's active? Essentially, any fire that we haven't called out is an active fire. Out of control indicates that we have not established containment lines that are satisfactory in keeping the fire from growing further. So once we're under control, we generally have control lines. So those are the fire guards, natural breaks, and those sorts of things all around the perimeter of the fire. And they're of such a nature that we feel that they are going to be strong enough to hold and withstand any of our predicted weather that's coming down the line. And we have a high degree of confidence that the fire is not going to go outside of those containment lines. So hopefully that answers that question. What is the procedure for getting information updated on fires of note? So certainly our information team works very hard on gathering information on a daily basis and updating our website as frequently as possible. Is it possible there to be updates more often? It's frustrating that some get updated twice a day and some only once, and that's in the morning. Yes, so depending on the fire itself, there may only be one update a day depending on the activity. We do have a number of fires that are in the landscape and may not have a lot of resources dedicated to them. So throughout the day, there may not be a lot of updates, and I understand that can be a frustrating thing for folks that are certainly interested, very interested in this specific incident, and you're seeing other fires that may have 2 updates a day or perhaps more, and you're only seeing one on the incident that you're very interested in. And I do apologize. I understand the need for information, and please know that our information team works very hard at getting any new updates out as quick as possible. But it is the case that on some of these incidents, there may only be one update a day from the field potentially. So hopefully that answers that question.
Can I just tack onto that really quickly?
Certainly.
When we've got an incident management team or something that's taken over the response to a fire, or even in the fire centers themselves, they do have information, phone numbers posted. And if you feel like the information that is on the website doesn't answer a specific question that you might have, or you're just curious, you saw an update in the morning, but now it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're just wondering like if anything significant has changed, feel free to give that phone number a call. Like if you had a question about Litton, it's going to come to myself, and I'm more than happy to answer and talk through anything anybody might have, whether it's just a general comment, question, concern, anything like that. I know the same goes for all the other information officers we've got on the line here. They're all happy to talk to anybody and answer any questions that they've got. We might not always have the answer, but we can do our best to find the answer and circle back with you.
Thanks, Nicole. That adds a lot of extra good content there. Any chance we've got Mitch back in the room? There he is. Mitch, did you have a chance to hear the question that was posed earlier?
I didn't, Dale. Sorry.
Okay, it's primarily, Mitch, just around an individual's asking questions about consistency on the road checks. They commute, it sounds like, regularly from Sun Peaks to Kamloops, and indicated, southbound no checks until today, northbound no checks early morning until today. In the afternoons, there's every, essentially, again, I guess it sums it up with, looks like we've got a few weeks of this situation, and the comment is there needs to be consistent safety enforcement and security on that road, and essentially, are we working towards more consistency on that access point and how we're approaching that?
Yeah, and right now, all that kind of all falls into the regional district folks. They're the ones that deal with the with the people that are going to be at those points. I don't really have a whole lot of information about that, other than I do know that, like everybody else, they are running short of resources and whatnot. So I think that's probably the issue, but I totally understand, and I know that they're aware of it, and I believe they are working hard to try and figure something out there.
I'm sure they are. And since we got you on the screen, Mitch, there's just one last one here for you. And I think you may have addressed this earlier, apologies. Specific to the west side of Sparks Lake Fire and then the Young Lake Fire, as far as the actual suppression efforts on there, particularly again, the west. And then I think you addressed the Young Lake Fire earlier.
Yeah. Basically don't have any resources for the Young Lake Fire. We are keeping an eye on it. They did just check it today, and give me 1 second. Young Lake Fire is smoked in, still hasn't crossed the valley yet, and no major growth from yesterday. So that's hands-on 15 minutes ago. So doesn't get better than that, folks. And then with the other one, yeah, it was just like I said, they're trying to finish off the burn now. Again, with the limited resources we have, we will when they get that wrapped up, we'll be able to say 2-3 days was the best guess I have, that we get over to the west side and try and get some work done along the Tobacco Creek Road off to the west. And the intention there is at some point, if we have to deal with a fire, we can try and steer it away from heading south and basically steer it into the old Elephant Hill burn. So it'll basically burn away from anything to the south, and from the Tobacco Creek Road south, it right now is looking really good. It's in good shape.
Thanks, Mitch. Really appreciate that update for everyone. And then we only had one more question posed to us on this particular the questions that were provided to us, though I believe it is a question best directed to the TNRD. So I don't know if you'd like me to read that one out for you there, but it's that question from Tricia with regards to how will we be allowed back in, and questions around building inspectors and the hazards that remain after the wildfire is done. And certainly, as I had mentioned earlier, when it comes to lifting alerts and orders, there's the threat of wildfire, which is what BC Wildfire Service focuses on. And then there's the additional hazards that may remain within the community. And that question is best answered by the local government.
Yeah, thank you very much for that one. That was incorrectly addressed to BC Wildfire, but it's definitely something we can speak of on behalf of the TNRD. So, of course, there is first and foremost the allowing residents to return back to their homes that have been affected and impacted by wildfire. And then it's very dependent on the area. So obviously we have quite a lot of different areas that are impacted right now. And kind of in terms of the next steps, what happens when we have residents returning in is we do have a returning residents package. It has a lot of information in it about kind of those next steps and what it might look like in terms of contacting, for insurance claims, fridge and freezer disposal, a variety of different things like that are kind of a package that will be given to all returning residents. And of course, we also have a caller today, which we'll be getting to very, very shortly. Dale Cronabush is operating our Resiliency Center for the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. He may be able to give us a little bit more information on the next steps for our callers that are on the line with us. But yeah, it's going to be a process for a lot of people to go through that. We, of course, will encourage everybody to contact us with their questions, and we'll be working with a lot of people on all of the various steps that needs to be taken in terms of building permits, dangerous tree assessments, other hazards like that. So it's there's really not a one size fits all answer for that, but it's something that the TNRD is here for, answering all those questions and helping our residents through the process. So.
Thanks, Michelle. So I believe that's all the questions we had for wildfires. So I think we'll be making our exit now, if that's all right.
Yes, you bet. Thank you. You bet. We'll let you go. Really appreciate all of the time and all of the information that you've been able to share with us today. And we will be in contact with you soon, I'm sure, and invite you to another one of our information update meetings in the very near future. So again, we always appreciate all of the information you can share with us and to the public. So
thanks again for your invitation and your time.
Yes, thank you. Thanks everyone from BC Wildfire. Have a good day. Okay, so I do have a couple of more items on our agenda that we can get to. So I did mention Dale Cronenbush, he's with our Resiliency Center, but first on our agenda, I want to make sure we don't miss our BC Hydro update. If Neil is still with us, Neil Kilmartin is with BC Hydro and had agreed to join us today to give a bit of an update on the remaining work in time for Gladwin Mobile Home Park and Botany. So I believe I have Dale as, or I'm not, sorry, not Dale, Neil as a call-in. So I'm just going to ask you to unmute Neil if you're on that phone call there. Let's see if you can provide us a bit of an update from BC Hydro.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you, Neil.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we have crews on Gladwin, working on Gladwin right now, and we're hoping to have that power restored by the end of today. If it's not today, we'll have it done in the first part of tomorrow. And then for Botany, we have about 6 kilometers of line that burnt up there that we need to restore. And if all goes, if that remains the only stuff that got burnt, we should have that hopefully wrapped up by the end of next weekend or early next week. And that will energize the majority of customers of Botany.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. I know a lot of people that they may or not be joining us as an attendee today, but I think that'll be really valuable information for a lot of the residents that we have been talking to. Of course, we do still have in evacuation order in that area. So residents have not been allowed to return yet. So we will be keeping everybody updated and posted on when it is safe to return. So please keep in touch with us, and we'll give you that news as soon as it's safe and clear to do so. So thank you again, Neil. So it sounds like we will be having kind of another update from Hydro on when that power has been brought back up for both those areas of Gladwin and Botany.
Correct. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Neil. Okay, so next I will be introducing Dale Cronenbush. He's with us here today at the Thompson-Nicola Regional District Resiliency Center, which has just kind of gotten up and running. So I will ask Dale just to give us a bit of an overview on the Resiliency Center, kind of the hours of operation that it can be used, and you can contact him and some of the services that he is providing out of the center. So just going to ask you to, oh, it looks like you are ready to speak with us, Dale. You're unmuted and ready to go. Oh, I don't actually hear your audio there though, Dale. Yeah. Oh, one more time.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
There we go.
Great.
Good afternoon, folks. The Resiliency Center is up and ready to start receiving all of the agencies like insurance companies and so on to come in, and the ministries to come in and take a place to the table to allow evacuees to come to the facility here. Now we're located at number 3, 700 Tranquille, which is the North Hills Mall. It's an outside mall exit, so we're right beside the CIBC on the outside. So you could come in, we're going to be open. We're going to start an opening from 8:30 to 4:30, and then just see how it goes. If we get to the point where we're going to be later, we got lots of people still in the building. We're not closing up shop. We'll keep it open and just keep going to make sure we got the servicing to the public. Now, what the public can get here is they can come here, they can start their insurance claim. If they know they've got damage on their property, they can start the insurance claim, usually right directly from the insurance companies that are here. Now, I don't think we're going to get all 17 insurance companies, but we're certainly going to be able to get a good cross-reference of those insurance companies that are actually here in the area that have insurance policies. We've got the Insurance Bureau of Canada here to direct you as well. So if you're not sure who your insurance company is and you only know your agent, they can look that up usually and try and get that information for you and get you in touch with somebody that will be able to start your claim. We also, on the other side of the building, we've got Service Canada. So Service Canada is going to be here. They're going to be able to provide information as to how do you get a new passport. Lots of people had to leave in a real hurry and they've lost all those documents. So they need to get them redone. If you don't have a job to go to because it burnt up, and you need to start getting on some EI to try and balance things up until you can get back on your feet and get back established, they'll be here to help you as well. Service BC is going to be here for if you've got some other issues that deal with them for as far as some of the income streams that they've got available through the province, that sort of a concept. ICBC is going to be here as well, or we'll have information on how to get in touch with them easily. And that's to get your driver's license, put in a claim for a vehicle that you lost. So that sort of thing is all going to be done quick and easy in one spot. We've got some brochures and information, and perhaps we'll have some inspectors from the technical safety side of things of BC. That's for gas and electrical. Now, remembering that gas is not just natural gas, it's propane. And I understand a lot of the homes have been using propane to heat their homes, and that's just as can be just as tricky to use as it is with natural gas. We've also got some NGOs. So if you're going to be challenged with having to have a big cleanup effect for you, we've got some folks from Samaritan's Purse are going to be here. Rubicon has got some information here. Some of the other NGOs will also be coming to the table as well. So overall, it's going to be a one-stop shop for people to come, and after they've done their registrations, we can do a bit of a assessment with them to try and see what they're going to need. We'll try and get them paired up with some people that can give them a hand to help them get to the next stages. So other than that, that's where it just sort of morphs. Now, one of the things that we're looking at doing, but it's not in concrete yet, and that's to maybe we'll end up bringing the center to you. But right now, all we've got in concrete is we do have a static building here at the mall, and we are going to be open from 8:30 to 4:30.
Great. Thank you very much, Dale. That's going to be a really beneficial resource for a lot of people, I think, just fielding a lot of the questions that we've had coming into the Tnrd's Emergency Operations Center to be able to sort of refer them to a center, whether they're in Kamloops and can come in person or can call in and then be able to connect with many of those agencies and services that they're going to need. That will be fantastic. And today we are, oh, sorry, go ahead, Dale.
So our phone number to be able to get a hold of us here is going to be at 250-312-5667. And hopefully we catch us during the hours that we're here and we're able to answer the phone for you. We're trying to hook up an answering machine. So, but again, it's technology, and guess what? There are some challenges out there. So, but we'll try and get that done for you.
Thank you. I'll also share all of the contact information for BC Wildfire, Tnrd Emergency Operations Center, and the Resiliency Center when the recording of this meeting is published, so people can easily find that. In addition, this is actually a little bit of a preview of what we'll be doing with this Resiliency Center as it's just opened up. There will be an official press release issued to let our broader public know about this and to make it well known that this is something that people can be a place that people can be reaching out to for assistance. So thank you so much for introducing yourself today, Dale. And yeah, we'll I'm sure we'll be getting a lot of questions and sending a lot of people your way for help. Okay, great. So to finish off the meeting, I realize we're just running over an hour here. So I'm going to make sure that I do respond to any of the additional questions that had been submitted to our meeting today. Again, we aren't going to do any live Q&A today, of course, just due to time and the amount of information and the updates from BC Wildfire, which is very, very valuable, I think, to kind of have during the day. So as opposed to doing live Q&A, what we're doing is encouraging people to submit their questions in advance of our information update meetings. And we have received several that BC Wildfire had answered earlier, so I'll take on the rest and answer them on behalf of the Thompson-Nicola Regional District before we wrap up the meeting. And again, if you do have a specific question, or if you have something urgent that you need to contact us about now, our EOC is fully activated. You can call right now and speak to somebody. That number is 250-377-7188. And again, we'll post all these all the information for phone numbers, BC Wildfire, Tnrd, EOC, and our Resiliency Center, all on our website and on the recording of this meeting once it's been published. So I'm just going to turn to our Q&A, and then to finish things up, I'll just give a very brief update on the current evacuation orders and alerts in the regional district before we finish off for today. So we received a question. We have actually, there's a couple of questions I could speak to here around security. And I think BC Wildfire also spoke a little bit about security in the area. You know, some people are seeing that there might not be a security at their checkpoint, or there may not be consistent security in the same route that they're driving. So they're kind of wondering about the safety and security. And, you know, again, it does come down to resources. We're very, very stretched thin with a lot of the resources and have deployed security all throughout the region. However, we need a lot more. And that is something we've been working on. We are in the process of making a request. Well, I think the request has been made for more resources that we could access. So I think things are moving in the right direction for that. However, just with the frequency and the need for restricting areas and access due to quite a number of evacuation orders and alerts, we have pretty much all of the resources at our disposal already in use. So I hope we can give a bit of an update over the next couple days in this week around that known issue that hopefully we'll be able to address in the very near term. As it sounds like, you know, this is going to be an ongoing thing throughout the summer, and we may need even more and more resources as we progress, and as we need to be making sure access is safe for people as they're coming home, and you know, hopefully properties and communities are safe as people might need to be evacuated. So we did get a couple of questions around that. And sorry, I'm just having a look at my question list to make sure that we don't miss anything before I go into the update from the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. Oh, okay. This is a good one I can address here. So a writer sent us a question regarding seeing something in the media around the city of Kamloops plan if the Sparks Lake fire moves closer to the city limits. What is that plan? Please reach out to the city of Kamloops as your local government if you live within the city. They are the ones, they are the local government authority on issuing orders, alerts, and emergency plans for the city of Kamloops proper. The Thompson-Nicola Regional District does have emergency plans and evacuation routes for many of our other communities and rural and remote areas. But we are the issuing authority for those remote rural residents in terms of evacuation orders, alerts, public safety, whereas within the city of Kamloops, its city limits, or same with the city of Merritt or other municipalities and First Nations communities, they will be your local authority and issuing agency for that. So there have been, you know, a number of questions coming in around city of Kamloops because some of the recent wildfire activity within the city limits as well. So please connect with them. They had an active EOC as well, an emergency operations center, to respond to a couple of situations within the city limits. But even if their EOC is not activated, please reach out just to see if there's anything that they can provide you in the meantime. Because unfortunately with the Tnrd, we can't really speak to what their plan in place is. The next question, I think this might be our last one. We did have a question regarding accessing properties for insurance claims and things like that. And of course, that again is going to come down to sort of the next steps. Many of our evacuation orders and alerts that we have issued this month of July, or even since the end of June, still remain in place. Access has been a challenge for even our own knowledge, so we can get on the ground or in the air to be able to assess damage to property and be able to identify buildings on property points that are within our regional district, so that we can kind of connect with those owners, so that we can deliver any news on the status of their property and buildings after the wildfire goes through. So it's just going to be a time for the process to sort of all get into place, especially due to the number of wildfires and some of the restrictions around access, even on the roads and highways that we're seeing with the Ministry of Transportation and Highways at the moment. So as we are able to get that information, we are connecting with residents as best we can to be the first ones to be able to inform them of official information that we have regarding the status of their property. And then, of course, that would be the next steps. We could probably connect them with our Resiliency Center for sort of the next process within an insurance claim and all of that. And in saying that, it might be a good opportunity to also ask any residents that have been evacuated from their homes, that are wondering about the status of their property, to give us a call and provide us with your property address and a good contact number that we can reach you at. Because of course, when people are evacuated and have dispersed, whether they're using a reception center and accommodation somewhere, or staying with friends and family, we may not have a contact number for you. So, we please are asking if you are wondering, and if you haven't heard anything, just please give us a call. We can certainly, if we don't have maybe the information for you when you contact us, we can certainly get all of your contact info so that we can follow up when we do and get that information to you. And I think our last question is one that a lot of people have been asking. It is regarding the provincial state of emergency and when the Tnrd or BC Wildfire will be asking for that. So that is something that the Thompson-Nicola Regional District Board of Directors has officially made a request to the province for. There has been a response back from Premier John Horgan just a couple of days ago on that. And at the time, there was no desire to declare that. So that's about all I can say about that at the moment. It's certainly a lot of people are talking about it, and it's not just the Thompson-Nicola Regional District, but I'm aware that other local governments and regional districts and First Nations are also calling for this. And again, you hear us talking about lack of resources or the resources being stretched thin, and BC Wildfire as well. So the need for resources, I think on our behalf and our board's motion is really to make sure that we have everything that we need to be responding. We did have just a comment that somebody was offering a location for people to stay if they're evacuated. We've seen some great community response on social media and other places where people are kind of coming together into community group pages to be sharing information around where there might be a place to stay or a safe place for animals and people. So we really appreciate people who are coming out to step up to help all of our residents who have been evacuated from these wildfires. So we thank you very much for that. And I'm just having one last look to make sure that I am not missing any of our questions that we received before today's meeting. Oh, there was one final question on watering restrictions. Somebody had requested a question about why are there watering restrictions in our community when there are fires burning all around. I mean, watering restrictions are an annual thing. We always put them in place. It's to, make sure the levels of the water that we have water services in several of our communities. So, the watering restrictions come in the summertime, obviously, because there's less precipitation and potential drought conditions. So the watering restrictions remain in place. In addition, they don't really change when there are fires. If anything, they may be asked to restrict even more water, depending on the levels of our reservoirs on those community water systems. So it's really not if there's wildfires or not. These are an annual thing that we have in all of our communities to maintain those reservoir levels for safety and the health of our drinking water for our communities. Okay, and I think that checks off all of the questions that we had submitted to us. So again, we really appreciate having this kind of format when there is so much information to share. We know there's a lot of things going on within the regional district, within the province, and the updates from BC Wildfire are very much appreciated. As you see, we have specialists from Wildfire who can speak on the specific areas where the fires are happening to kind of let us know their efforts and tactics that they're using on those wildfires. So again, we really appreciate all of the work that is going into fighting these fires and keeping our communities safe. And we will again invite them to these ongoing meetings with us to get those updates. I think given the time, this is a very long meeting for us today, as opposed to sharing the evacuation status dashboard on our website. I will kind of give a verbal update of what the most recent situation is within the regional district in terms of evacuation alerts and orders. So last night at about 9 p.m. was the most recent action that we had taken on recommendation from BC Wildfire, and that's an evacuation order that we issued due to the Tremont Creek wildfire, and it's for the community of Wallachine. We did issue an evacuation order for 60 properties out there. So that's a wildfire we're keeping a very close eye on. We do have other communities quite close in there. So please be monitoring our website and social media channels if you are living out there. We're posting our information as quickly as we can to get it in. In addition, we are issuing all of these important emergency evacuation alerts and orders via our Voyant alert system. So if you haven't heard of that yet, it's an application that you can sign up for. It's free to use. And what it does is it allows you to actually receive our evacuation alerts and orders on a mobile device, to your landline, to a phone, if you want to get a phone call, or you can use the app and get alerted through there, or text message or email. It is something that you will only get if you have registered. We've seen quite an increase in registrations since the wildfire season has really really gotten active throughout the regional district. So thank you to everyone who has signed up for it. We are reaching more and more people with it every single day. Unfortunately, we are issuing more alerts and orders on an almost daily basis these last couple of weeks. But to be able to reach people in this way and to have them receive this from us more directly is just another way for people to be getting that from us as soon as they can. So, but you can sign up on the tnrd.ca website. You'll also see it on our Facebook page. There's a pinned post at the top of the page announcing it, where you can click through and do a whole sign up for that. And then I guess the other update I can give just before we wrap up today was an additional evacuation order yesterday. This is an order up in the northern part of the Thompson-Nicola Regional District, bordering onto the Caribou Regional District. It's due to the Flat Lake wildfire. And this one is in a very, very rural and remote area. We didn't actually have within our mapping system any address points on there. However, we do think that there are some structures in there that could be impacted due to the wildfire up there. So it's mostly in the vicinity of Gustafson Lake, Nielsen Lake, and up in that area. If you visit our website, you'll see the order up there. If you're curious, it's in the Bonaparte Plateau, which is electoral area E, which again is quite up north, bordering onto the Caribou Regional District from the Thompson-Nicola region. So again, if you have an interest in areas like this that are a little bit more remote, that may be more of a cabin, there might be somewhere up there that you have friends or family, or you visit occasionally. If you're signed up for the Voyant Alert system, you could identify one of these areas that might not be your primary residence, but it might be somewhere that you go visit in the summertime, or have friends up there that you're concerned about. And if there was a concern with a wildfire or evacuation alert or order, you would get notified of that as well. So it's something you can really customize to however you sort of want to know what's happening within the region. So can't urge enough how we're really encouraging everybody in the region to be signing up for it and using it, especially with all of the activity that has been happening within our region. So on that note, I think we've gotten through about an hour and a half. So I really want to thank all of you who are still with us and listening in for joining us on this meeting today. If you have any questions about anything that you've heard today, you can feel free to contact us, or if you would prefer us to answer a question from you in this format, you can visit our website where you'll see a post about these information update meetings and a page where you can click on a submit a question button, and we'd be happy to answer your question live on this call. And we can direct those questions to our agencies like BC Wildfire and others that might be in attendance with us. So again, if you are looking for the most up-to-date information, we have an interactive evacuation status map on our website at tnrd.ca. You can see all of the current alerts and orders within the area. Just for a bit of an update, we have currently 17 active evacuation orders and 25 active evacuation alerts. And that is just within the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. For road closures, please visit the Drive BC website. We have been hearing from them that there are different impacts due to the wildfires on road access in some areas. So please check that before you're traveling throughout the region. And further information from us will continue to be provided on our website, on our social media channels, radio and news outlets, and of course through our alerting system on Voyant Alert. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much and stay safe out there. And we will be holding these meetings every few days. So please keep an eye out for the next announcement where we'll hold our next public information meeting. Thank you. Goodbye.